Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the British Egyptian Business Association team and Mr. Hala El Said for their invitation and for hosting this very important event. I would really have loved to be present with you physically in London, but unfortunately, various commitments have not allowed me to be there. One of them is the launching of the National Strategy for Climate Change. Regardless, it gives me great pleasure to be virtually amongst you today, and I very much look forward to participate in the next conferences. Let me start by stating that the reports of the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change indicate that warming in Egypt, Africa, and MENA region is projected to be higher than the global average. The MENA region will continue to suffer impacts that exceed its adaptive capacity, from increasing temperature and rising sea levels to abrupt changes in precipitation and extreme weather events. Such cascading challenges pose significant risks to many aspects of life. Specifically, they undermine agriculture and food security, potentially reversing hard-earned development gains. They are also considered the root causes of the climate-induced migration phenomenon. Despite contributing to only 0.7% of the global greenhouse emissions, Egypt spares no effort to promote programs and projects to accelerate its momentum towards a green transition, adopting a participatory approach, engaging all relevant stakeholders in order to put in place the policy frameworks to facilitate such transition. Climate change remains at the top of Egypt's priority, embodied in Egypt's Sustainable Development Strategy 2030 and one of its core priorities of the decade of action to deliver the Sustainable Development Goals. The government of Egypt believes it is an excellent opportunity to further promote and integrate the concepts of green and circular economy into the process of recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent crisis, whilst ensuring that the key principles of inclusive growth and leaving no one and no place behind are put in place. From that perspective, Egypt is launching the National Strategy for Climate Change, addressing all aspects of climate change, including mitigation, adaptation, means of implementation, finance, technology transfer, and capacity building, in addition to monitoring, review, and verification, and exploring the possibility of establishing a domestic carbon market. In Egypt, we look several steps toward a green transformation, including but not limited to launching green bonds of value of $750 million to mobilize resources for green projects, especially in the field of clean mobility. The Egyptian private sector is also getting ready to launch private green bonds of a value between 120 to 200 billion US dollars. Drafting a package of financial and non-financial incentives to promote the green transformation of the private sector in Egypt, while also activating some of the articles in the investment law in this regard, and launching the environmental sustainability criteria guidelines aiming at greening the national budget and national investment plan that reached 30% of the projects this fiscal year, reaching 40% next fiscal year and 50% by the year 24-25 through investing in clean mobility, renewable energy, water efficiency, and sanitation projects. Of course, an important element of sustainable development is the sensible use of natural resources. Water scarcity has become a paramount concern initiated by climate change. The COVID-19 pandemic further intensified the diminished access to water as well as other necessities. The government of Egypt has worked to eliminate the problem of unavailability of potable water. The measures taken include government mandates and social awareness programs, as well as private sector involvement in the form of business development and global investment. The government of Egypt developed a national plan for the development of water resources, as Egypt announced at the end of 2020 a strategy for water resources until 2050 at a cost of almost 50 billion US dollars. The strategy aims to achieve rational use of groundwater, improve, develop, and use modern irrigation systems in agriculture land, activate water resource association, and enhance the capabilities of private sector engagement in assuming the responsibilities of managing, operating, and maintaining parts of the irrigation and drainage system and facilities under specific conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to reiterate that finance remains a key element in defining policies and raising the level of ambition for climate action in general and sustainable water infrastructure in specific. Conducting needs assessment and mobilizing affordable financing for climate change projects should be given utmost priority. Affordable financing includes grant, soft loans for credit guarantees, but above all, direct investment. Private investment spurs economic growth through creating jobs, building skills, spurring innovation, while underpinning the green transformation and maximizing the win-win situation for all parties. At the level of the institutional setup, governance and policy framework, the government of Egypt is updating its Sustainable Development Strategy, Egypt Vision 2030, which will be launched soon in order to respond to the new emerging challenges, including population growth, climate change, and water scarcity, while considering also the regional geopolitical changes and factoring in the impact of COVID-19. As we seek to upgrade infrastructure and address the challenges of climate change, among other objectives, the need for private sector involvement have grown. We find it vital to tap into the true expertise of private players to ensure the sustainability of green transition efforts and enhance their impact. There is no way that the government will be able to achieve breakthrough alone. Having the private investors on board is key to embed green principles in all economic activities in order to reverse the devastating effects on planetary boundaries that everyone will suffer from. That's why to engage the private sector is through public partnership, especially the first established sovereign wealth fund of Egypt, which provides more space for private sector to participate and increase the availability of funds while managing risk more effectively. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the people and the government of Egypt are looking forward to warmly welcome all delegation and stakeholders to COP27 in Sharm El-Sheikh in November, as well as to the upcoming 47th annual meeting of the Islamic Development Bank Group, which will also take place in Sharm El-Sheikh this June 2022. I wish you all a very successful conference and fruitful discussions, and I'm sure my colleagues at the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Egypt will give you more insights and more details on all the projects and all the aspirations on the green transformation. Thank you all, and I wish you a very successful event.